This is Murlocs cubed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll.
Our fun has been interrupted.
Let's dive into this game now. Gia versus Frozen. Again, we are going to see this Ken Diablo opening with the Varden going up against Shadow Samuro. And already you can see that even though the Ken looks like the more attractive target with double blue in Gia's opening, Gia is just going to fully respect Diablo here and try and nuke him down and say, you know what, instead of trying to kill Ken to make Diablo less good when it comes out, because they're already on board, all damage goes to Diablo, so then Ken becomes more of an annoyance mercenary as opposed to a combo activation mercenary.
Yeah. But not really possible for a kill on this turn, though, right?
Let me think.
On the Diablo, I don't, and it's the combo's still gonna get off.
Yeah, I think the plan is if it's not a kill, it's very close.
Yeah.
Because this is just a ton of damage. And then the plan will be Vol'jin AoE along with Natalie AoE next turn. And that should do enough there to just peel away Diablo, right? Because Vol'jin's AoE is now going to be 1 speed. Okay. Because the Samuro was slowed by Doom Charge, so...
Yeah, and then...
Oh, wait, no, sorry. He hit Vol'jin with Doom Charge. Apologies. That is just way better and makes 100% sense. So, yeah, because everyone's slowed by Varden, of course, but then the Vol'jin with the Doom Charge won't be able to even have a chance at going off. So this is going to be nice. I do think it's likely Diablo takes enough damage anyway this turn, or maybe this is just too strong, right? If Blademaster Samuro and Vol'jin die to this combo with the Cairn Endurance Aura and Diablo Stomp, then I don't think Natalie actually kills Diablo with the beam. Oh yeah, I'm just being an idiot. It's Doom Charge, isn't it? Frozen's ability. I really need to keep an eye on that because I'm so used to seeing Soulstone on every single Diablo you ever see.
I mean, you even explained it to me earlier.
I did, but this is where we're at right now, okay? We're moving on. We're getting on with it. But yeah, is the Doom Charge there, Diablo? So the Diablo doesn't gain health, so that was basically a 2-for-1 trade overall. Arguably close to a 3-for-1 trade because this Natalie is very susceptible to a kill this turn for Gia, but at least if you look for the positives, the Diablo is gone. So that's one of the scary minions done and dusted. And again, because I'm not going to make, or try not to make the same mistake twice, this Tavish does not have the wiring. So as you can see, it doesn't have that bonus health that pushes him higher up. And also the traps are not persistent. So we're much more likely to just see these aim shots kick out more often, as the aim shots are going to be doing a little bit more damage than your average Tavish.
Yeah. So, Karen's not really high priority anymore, right? I mean, obviously it has Tom right now, but...
Yeah, not generally high priority in this scenario, but the weird thing is all 3 of these mercenaries from Frozen are kind of just slow, sort of tanky mercenaries, right? The problem that Gia's going to have is she's likely to want to try and hit Tavish. The AoE is going to come down, so Frozen does get the explosive trap going off, but every point from now, Gia will want to make sure Tavish is hit so that the aim shot isn't gaining extra damage. There is going to be the Ragnaros as the final mercenary here. Again, looking to probably drop a Michi on top of Tavish to try and take him out. But already, he's starting to just feel like it's just too late. The opening from Frozen with this Ken Diablo open, especially with that buff Doom Charge, was just an absolute ton of damage and difficult for Gia to recover from, because this is the board Gia has now. That's it. There's the Cairn still has Reincarnate, of course. This Ragnaros can pump out a lot of damage, but bear in mind the Varden is extremely healthy, so the Varden's going to be slowing Gia for probably the rest of the game right now. The Diablo for Gia is on 30 health, very susceptible to damage and death this turn, especially even if Cairn just like punches Diablo. That's tons of damage and likely not enough to get much done. The Diablo itself is slowed. I think that was down to 11 at that point. So just a lot going on here that Gia's just been kind of just squeezed out of this game. Frozen, of course, still has 2 Mercenaries on the bench as well. So this is just one of those games that looks like a complete blowout, honestly.
Well, can Gia at least maybe, I don't know, nuke the Tavish? the problem is the health, right, on the like Diablo and Cairn, even though the reincarnation is there.
Right.
So that is a big amount of damage. Yep. Tavish is able to be nuked.
That was kind of a strange choice from Frozen. Like, it's a hard one to make, right? So basically, yeah, Tavish was getting nuked. He went Bear Trap. I'd have to think about that a little bit more. He went Bear Trap so Tavish could act first, or try to act before the Ken Diablo combo goes off. But by doing that, then the bear spawns and dies, which gives the Diablo more health. So even though there was arguably weirdly 1 wave less, I think there's also another wave because the bear doesn't do anything. And then the health comes back on the Diablo. So that was kind of a strange one. But now we're going to see the Baron Geddon come out, and this is where the damage is going to start potentially getting very silly. And I do wonder if this is going to be a Geddon setup turn. So Frozen won't necessarily go for Living Bomb, and then we'll set up elsewhere. But Living Bomb will still be available if he wants, because he can do the Living Bomb and then do the AoE from Varden afterwards, which will still spread the damage and sort of deal that extra damage knocking around there.
I think both players have already locked everything in, but just doing a double check to make sure that they've got everything lined up correctly.
And this is the problem as well, is right, there's a lot of maths to do with these turns, but also the maths change based on what your opponent does. So yeah, there you go. You are going to see the Living Bomb this turn. You're going to see a ton of damage stack up. The Ken gets procced, so he doesn't get to act. Die Insect's going to act though. Oh, it didn't go middle. Okay. But now this is just a big GG here, I think, for Gia, because Rag, Omega slow, Ken, Omega slow. There's Varden and Baron still on the side. There's another Mercenary still on Frozen's bench, even if his Ken or whatever gets cleaned up. If Varden dies, although he won't be able to freeze the board, the damage from him dying, because he does actually deal damage, is going to be enough. And you even see that then, the cold snap going on to do the damage there, to kill off instantly. And that's just going to be it. That looked very one-sided indeed for Frozen, as he takes game number 1 for the Americans.
Yeah, off to a solid start. Again, if this America's Mercenaries team is just able to take 1 match win in the series, which they're limited to now since Asia Pacific took the first one, that'll at least give the Battlegrounds team some breathing room. That pressure that we talked about that must be on them.
And it's super
to
important,
not
right?
have to sweep Battlegrounds once again.
And it's even 1 point, you might think, oh well, 1 point's not going to change anything. I think the score's like 6 points, 6 points, 6 points, 5 points right now.
Yeah.
So like, it one point makes a huge deal. This is the last day of the effective qualification process, and what will happen tomorrow in the final day is that the team that ends 4th in points after today is done. The 2nd and 3rd team basically play again versus each other to see who makes it to the finals, and obviously the first finished team is straight in the finals. Correct me if I'm wrong, TJ, there's a lot of rules to learn for each mode and everything, but that sounds correct to me. So finishing first obviously is the target for these regions, because that just means you're in the finals, just done and dusted. But not finishing 4th, I think, is the overall guaranteed target, right? And just any singular points that these groups can gain are going to be absolutely vital and ensuring their teams have even a fighting chance to play tomorrow.
Yep. And that's the goal. And you definitely don't want to be the region that ends in last place, no matter which format you're talking about. Bragging rights are a huge deal in the world of Hearthstone esports, as we've
I'm already waiting though for like the way the bragging rights will evolve instantly based on what happens. Because let's just say America's finish last, right? They don't make it to the finals. What will quickly happen with, like, we'll all go, haha, America sucks, so on, whatever. But then the Battlegrounds players will be like, yeah, but with the best Battlegrounds region. So that there'll always be something to be fought back on after that. But still, yes, you do not want to be the one region that is, strictly bottom of the pile, at least based on this tournament. And overall, you can even just argue is, again, which I'm sure the regions who do well will argue is, well, this tournament includes 3 different game modes, tons of players from each region. So it's not as if there's like one player representing the region overall, right? It's a big spread of players, and if you're then the one finishing 4th, I think you'll get some laughs aimed at you at some point.
Unfortunately, I come from the region.
Are you not
that's
feeling
had
confident,
the most
TJ?
laughs targeted at it.
I'm already waiting for the memes.
I'm telling you, it doesn't feel great.
Are you not confident in your America's team?
No, absolutely not.
They're winning this game so far.
Okay,
that's something.
Yes. I'm confident in each individual player, but not the Americas as a collective region within competitive Hearthstone. Let's just put it that way.
I'm trying to work out whether I would have been more confident in EU if we only sent Gabby.
For every mode?
Yeah, yes, we literally just sent Gabby. We're like, you know what, you'll do. Go. I can't work out whether I'd be more or less confident. Because I feel like Gabby just wouldn't lose anything.
No.
He's like never played a game of Mercenaries in his life, and he's like rocks up and just 3-0s every Mercenary match. You're like, how is he doing this?
Mercenaries takes a huge time investment.
Yes, it does.
To get anywhere close to competitive. Maybe unless you're Gappy, right? All the players got these super accounts with everything unlocked for this event. He could probably just practice for 2 days with that account and be like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? It takes a huge time investment, but so does Constructed, and Gabby's like 12 years old. Like, he's not had the time to do the time investment, and he's still very good at Constructed, so there you go. Who knows if he turns his focus to Mercenaries, what could go wrong? But here we are taking a look at Natalie Celine, mainly a character you will see in that Shadow Samuro opening, especially in this tournament specifically, and almost certainly using that Splinter of Nordrassil, which allows the AoE that switches into heal with Benediction, have 0 cooldown, so playable on turn 1, and you will often see that ability playable on turn 1 as well. Also, funnily enough, this graphic's a little bit weird because it just doesn't show the second ability for Natalie Celine. The 2 on the left are actually the same ability that rotate, and she does have a 2-speed just targeted heal as well.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
That's fine. Don't.
I won't.
Okay.
I mean, the graphic says those are the 3.
That would be huge. I think that would just be a strict buff
Whoa, that was dissolve. We got a cube transition. We got a dissolve transition.
All
right,
I
here
need
we
now
go.
is Star Wipe.
Cookie the cook.
And we're
Boom.
we're done.
All right. Did you study up on your fishes?
I'll be honest, no. I spent the approximately 5 hours I had trying to sleep. So no, I did not research all the fish. Let me research it now.
Okay.
Talk about Cookie, TJ.
All right. Cookie is great. Cookie cooks, and one of the abilities is Cookie's cooking, which we've seen a lot. Kind of that, health swing, so to speak, with the nice spread of damage, and the biggest thing being the 2-speed attack with Fish Feast. And we've seen it so many times be able to just come into play in clutch moments. Pop off the bench, 2-speed attack, boom, 10 damage, kills a merc, heals everything else. Appetizers seems to be the go-to equipment. I don't think we've seen anything other than that, just because it kind of fits the bench style of Cookie, just letting all of your other mercenaries be just that little bit healthier.
This knowledge literally does not exist on the internet.
I tried.
It just doesn't exist.
It's just not there.
Maybe that it just generates a procedurally generated fish every single time, and that's why the list doesn't exist, because there just isn't one. Oh well, who cares? Moving on to this game. As we dive into game number 2 between Surrender and Luna now. And it is going to be that Shadow Samuro opening versus, again, this Nature. We did see this actual matchup in the previous series, right? And it did look decent, at least in the beginning, for Surrender, as he can pump out a ton of damage. But that Brakan does need to be kept an eye on, as always.
That sneaky Brakan always just ramping up that spell damage, waiting for the right moment. Okay, well, that was quick. Oh, okay, well, that was quick. Yep. That's what we've come to expect with the Samuro openings, though, is something's going to die. And something did indeed die.
Yeah, both players going for the Cairn now, just to try and do some form of setup. Again, always interesting at this point in the game, after the first Mercenary's been knocked out, especially when it's this quick, to just take a look and see what the priority target is. And now you just can see there in Surrender selection how worse Natalie gets when the AoE is 6 speed, the single target damage is 4 speed. Although they're not super slow abilities, they're also not very fast. And if they're not fast, they're normally a little bit worse.
Yeah. If you ain't first, you're last.
Looks like Luna's locking in all attacks into Cairn. Does appear to be changing mind between Lightning Bolt and Muddy Footing, I think, with Brakan. I think it was a Lightning Bolt there. Again, very useful to just max out as much spell damage as possible, especially when your Brakan is very unlikely to die this turn.
Yeah. Try and wait as long as possible before you get the big chain lightning nuke. Sometimes it's even good to save him for next game. Let him die. If only
so I think there was
carried over.
Yeah, I think there was a maths error here at some point from Luna, because she went for Muddy Footing, which did slow Cairn down, right? Obviously, it meant Cairn attacked last, but Cairn was 1 health from being popped that turn. Whereas you can see the play would have been the nuts if Cairn got popped and was slowed, so Cairn just didn't get to act at all. So I can definitely see that there's a potential misstep there, because again, if Cairn gets to do the damage anyway, all of Luna's Mercenaries survived, even after Cairn did the stomp. So it's not like Luna snuck an attack in under the Cairn stomp and then Luna's Mercenary went down. So I think just on surface level there, that could have been a lightning bolt, and Brakan could have had more spell damage.
Is the Cairn going to get to act this turn, though, is the question. Before it dies.
So, let me think. So 3...
I guess you'd have to sink an attack
5.
into it anyway, so yeah, it would just be an error at that point anyway.
Yeah. I think here... the Celine has the first attack, but it looks like Surrender's actually going for the AoE anyway. So yeah, it's going to be just a lot of speed face-offs at this point. Ooh. That wasn't great for Luna. That Chain Lightning danced between that clone, I think, twice.
Yep.
Which is not good at all. Just basically wasted damage, right? The Chain Lightning did half of the damage it should have done.
Yeah. Still did a lot of damage, but...
Did it?
I mean, raw
like,
damage, if you don't count actual mercenaries, sure.
Yes, but Ken
there was a lot of big numbers.
Ken was on like 1 health.
1 health, yeah.
And he's now on 70. Although, of course, the Reincarnate's proc. The Samuro didn't get touched. That Chain Lightning did kind of 1 damage. A little bit more than 1, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it dealt a little bit of damage to the Cairn. This Cairn.
Yeah.
Second Cairn.
But now there is going to be the setup here. Although the problem now is everything's a little bit off with timings because Luna's Cairn did just do the Endurance Aura.
Yeah.
So it means that Diablo can't hit the board and instantly combo Endurance Aura and the AoE. Does mean, though, that Luna can stomp anyway, which isn't bad. Stomping this board, slowing it down, and then setting up the AoE is going to be really nice.
Yep. Which, again, having the ability to do that with the Reincarnation.
Yeah, pretty nice as well, because this Celine gets to snipe the Cairn, right, and remove Taunt. Oh, yeah, this is just... Yeah, this is solid.
And just trying to keep the Samuro healthy that turn.
And this is huge now, right? Because it's also more 50-50s for speed. Oh, it's not even 50-50s, right? Because this was just a really strong play, actually. Being able to snipe the Cairn instantly means that Luna couldn't stomp, which means now that because Luna has been stomped by Surrender's Cairn, that this Endurance Aura AoE combo is not available again for Luna.
Yeah.
Because all of Surrender's Mercenaries are way faster. So this has just really pushed Diablo out of the game for Luna, I think. This is just... Oh, this is looking rough.
Yeah, just a smart play overall from Surrender's side. Brakan's still up, though.
Not
Do you
for
believe
long.
in miracles?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah, it's just too much. I'm not one for giving up when there's still a chance, but I can tell you for free, there was no chance. Surrender seems very happy at that victory. And that's what you really want as well, although, you know, it's nice to have tense games. As a player in these games, you want to win in an overwhelming fashion, right? And you can see, I think the last Mercenary there for Luna was Cookie that she had available. And there's no chance, right? Cookie's not going to solo anything, right? So, and Surrender had so many mercenaries left over, so much health still available for him. So that was brutal. That was just when things just don't go your way at all. As we check out TJ
Right
in a
back
mercenary
to
card right now.
You mentioned Cookie. Cookie pops up.
I never noticed the little lobster on his apron as well. That's kind of funny.
Ah, neither did I. I never see the portrait.
Do you understand now why I said it was
high
the skin
definition.
with the... Did you understand now why I said, is that the skin with the pitchfork? Right? That's a...
Yes. So I never even realize that there was a pitchfork, and it's not even a pitchfork; it's a trident.
Yeah. Or just a big fork, I guess, which is what a trident is, I suppose. You ever tried eating with a trident, TJ?
I eat with a trident every day. It's just miniature.
Oh, wait a minute. Is a fork a small trident, or is a trident a huge fork? What came first? It's like the chicken and the egg all over again.
Oh, there we
synergy.
I'm actually going to look this up. Whoa,
well,
what
look
is
at
this?
Oh, yeah. That's when he's just learning to cook. That's when he's really getting it wrong. And that's like optimal cookie. Although I'm a little bit upset there wasn't some kind of like Salt Bay positioning with this hero. I think that this one definitely could have been done at a different angle.
Is it zooming in, or am I crazy? Is it getting bigger?
I think it might just be the focus of each portrait. Well, that portrait is closer to the character, right?
I thought it was getting bigger.
I'd love it if each portrait the character just got either very close to the like the shot or further away. So it's like, oh, I got this diamond portrait of Anduin. You look at it and he's just on a hill in the background, and you're like, wait a minute, something's gone wrong. Oh, here's one we've not seen, TJ. How do you feel about Morgul?
Morgul, the Oracle, the Forgotten Murloc. Fishy Barrage is cool because you can summon a bunch of Murlocs and then Fishy Barrage and then eat your Murlocs with weakness. Very cool. Very hip.
I'll be honest,
very cool.
I originally, this was like not long after release of Mercenaries, thought Morgul was going to find its place in nature, because if you look at the Morgul's Mitt, Murloc Missile buffs all friendly characters, and then Murloc Missile is deal 10 damage, give your Murlocs 5 health, so it would actually give anything on board 5 health, which is really strong. And because it's nature, it would also proc off Malfiorin's heal, so you heal for 6 and give everything plus 5 like core health. So I thought that was going to be really good, but it seems that as the game has developed, it's changed as a way from either you go full sustain, which includes Anduin, or you go nature aggro with that Samuro as the third character as well, with the Malfiorin and Bukan. So just interesting that I thought that was actually going to be a strong one, and it turned out not the case.
Well, while we were fooling around there, I did some research on the difference between a pitchfork and a trident.
Wait. Go on.
Yeah, before you talk about anything relevant, I'd like to talk about something that's completely irrelevant. A trident, the definition of a trident is a 3-pronged spear, somewhat resembling a pitchfork. So I think we're back to square one, unfortunately.
So wait, so is a fork a small 3-pronged spear? Is that where we're at right now?
Yep.
And what I was going to talk about when I tried to interrupt you and failed was there was a poll in the Twitch chat where apparently the vote is trident is a large fork. 75%. So shout out to the mods in the chat, getting the real news out there.
The real answers. That's what we're here for. Usually a pitchfork is slightly slanted and curved because it's used to, pick things up, right?
Yeah, the scoop effect.
Yeah. The scoop de whoop. Meanwhile, Samuro is just killing casters left and right.
Yeah, a bit of an ongoing theme we've noticed is that comps that open Samuro generally have a plan to kill a blue enemy on turn 1. Hence the Samuro.
Yes. Hence Samuro's existence.
It's your only job.
Yeah, and despite the openings being slightly different, in a way they're not different at all. Karen's going to come off the bench for both Gia and Luna here. And now it's time for the Samuros to do a little bit more work.
Yep, and again, going to be very interesting to see where this damage goes, because the longer the Brakan is ignored, I think that, oh, it's going to be muddy footing on Ken. Yeah, so Gia's going all in here, trying to slow Ken down, stop any kind of shenanigans going on. And is that going to line up a kill on the Ken here? Because you'd imagine this is a stomp turn from Luna. Unfortunately, on this vision, we can see the abilities that G has chosen, but not the abilities Luna has, unfortunately. I think this lines up a kill, right? Oh no, it's going to be one off, 'cause it's just the same thing again.
Yeah. I feel like we've seen this combo multiple times.
Yeah.
Or at least from the other side of the board, right? Luna in the previous game against Surrender.
Now this is the big point as well. I guess speed differences are important here, although both players are stumped. Is how this chain lightning works. You can see Luna is going to mirror image, which we saw kind of have a huge effect on the chain lightning in the previous game. Especially if it's going to be aimed at Ken.
Yeah. And maybe this Brukan is not long for this world, but could end up falling for the same trap.
It's close, right? Because the two Samuros will obviously be tied on all their abilities. So
Yeah.
if Gia, for example, aims Samuro at Luna's Samuro, whoever wins that is going to just take it, I guess, at that point. So Brakan might be able to live. Let's see what happens. And there's Gia's image going off. That's the buff on the Samuro, and like I said, that protects everything, stops the image coming out, and makes that chain lightning a lot stronger. Huge heal coming out from Luna, of course, with Natalie, but the problem is the Ken was procced, right? So now everything becomes a lot more simple. There's no like killing Ken over 2 turns anymore. The Ken health is what it is, and most importantly, Brakan is still alive.
Brukan is still alive and still quite healthy as well. Get some more big damage coming through.
Okay, so there should be no speed issues. I think this is just going to be Diablo combo from Luna. Gia going to start aiming damage at that Ken again to just try and get rid of that speed manipulation. No point in muddy footing if something's being aimed at Ken, right? Because Ken's going to 3-speed anyway. You would expect, so muddy footing would be after that, and then just doesn't really change much. So I would imagine we're going to see a lightning bolt here.
Yeah.
Again, problem with this turn is like Samuro is just dead, right? The fastest thing that Gia can do is 4. Would in a perfect world would try and do the immune, I guess, this turn, but not really the case. The one good thing is though, if you're running, or if Gia's running on the assumption that Samuro dies, which I think is a certainty, then that means that the swap in now will be likely to be Ken stomps this turn, and then Gia drops in her own Diablo to do the Diablo speed. Oh no, but Ken died, so he couldn't stomp. But it's still fine, right? Because Ken, Luna's Ken has already done the done the speed manipulation with Endurance Aura. So I imagine we are going to see Diablo, and G is going to try and return the favor with that Firestomp combo. You always save the best till last, right?
Yeah. Cookie's more of a let everybody else fight it out. And then come in and just kill a Merc real quick, heal everybody up, and then game's over by that point. Actually, you know what? Everybody's mean to Cookie. People just put Cookie in the comp for the equipment just to get that extra health.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate we live in that kind of world.
Oh yeah, it's always been the case. It's like if you get a new game, you know, people want to be your friends so they can play it. Like when you were a kid. And they're not there for you. They're there for what you've got.
Yeah, but then when you want to, you know, kick back and play some of your old games, they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah, leave. And the problem is some of your old games are only multiplayer, so then you're just in trouble yet again.
It's just a real shame.
Yep. Same if you're the one with the football, but then someone kicks it over into someone's garden or it gets popped. Then no one wants to hang out anymore. They find a new friend with a football.
Yeah, your neighbor whose yard the football is in.
Ah, yeah. Do you have a football in your garden? No. Oh, I think you do. Let's hang out.
Little do you know.
Yeah, this is snowballed out of control, right? Just a big turn there from Luna. Well, almost the back-to-back big turns, honestly, has just put Gia in a tough spot. Again, Cookie, not the best character, you know, not the exactly close to Sylvanas in at least even draw potential in these scenarios. Is able to snipe Ken. Diablo then can try and kill Natalie to be able to gain some extra health, so it's not all lost. It's definitely not worth the concede right now. I think I'd definitely be happy seeing at least a couple more turns here, but it doesn't look great for Gia.
No. Cookie, as much as we meme on that adorable little Murloc, not the best in straight hand-on-hand combat. But there, oh yeah, there it is. And last Merc gonna be able to come down here for Luna, a fully pristine, healthy Ragnaros.
Yeah. Yeah, it is just not enough, right? The problem is, outside of sniping the enemy mercenaries for that health buff, Cookie in a scenario like this just doesn't do enough, right? Like summoning the fish, fine, that can be okay, but not when your opponent has a Diablo and on the other side of the board that's already starting to get out of control health-wise. The bleed is fine, but again, the bleed's good when you're the sustain comp, right? Because then you can just focus on staying alive, and the bleeds might help tick some damage through and keep your opponent a little bit lower health. But that's not going to do it here when she is already so far behind it health-wise. So although she is going to play it out a little bit, looks like she is going to go for the fish into AoE to try and kill it off and see what happens with the death rattle. I think this is a long shot at best.
Yeah. But at this point, we're going to play it out.
Yeah, the fact that Diablo goes down, right? You got this, Cookie. No, you don't got this.
Yeah. Poor Cookie. All right. Luna brings us to a 2-1 series now in favor of the Americas. So Could see another split. We saw APAC split with China in their Mercenaries match to end the day yesterday. And, you know, if APAC continues to have success in Constructed and holds their own in Battlegrounds, as long as the Mercenaries team just keeps splitting, they can find themselves in a pretty good position as we start to move towards playoffs at the end of the day today.
Yeah, also as well, I'm not sure like how much we've mentioned this or if we've mentioned it at all. We've been talking about cookies and forks, but the original EU versus America's Mercenary match, I believe from yesterday, has not actually finished yet. They're actually playing it after this one off stream. I think they've just got one game to play or something, or one match to play. So that they could gain an additional point from those standings from that as well, right? So there is a chance that if the constructed America's team is being able to impact the results much based on the performance so far, that, as you mentioned, if Frozen and Luna can get a win here and like get something done in the match versus Europe later on, a 2 points increase can be a huge deal, especially if you're just sort of almost expecting the America's Battlegrounds squad to do well and gain that victory, which again is another 2 points. That could really change up where America's going to sit on the table.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly
You don't
close.
sound confident
I feel
about
like
this, TJ. You're like, nah, probably not going to happen though, is it?
Like, I'm starting to, like, my mind's starting to, like, go down to, like, conspiracy theories. Like, the point system is designed for it to be close, and the worst teams are going to be barely at the bottom, but the bottom nonetheless. I don't know. I've had a bad couple of years, and by couple of years, I mean since 2014.
Slightly more than a couple, but okay. Looking at what's available here, of course, Team Americas will have just this deck to play now. Is going to be that that nature opening that looks like it's decent. I don't know how strong it is. I feel like there's just something could be done to the build to improve it a little bit. Meanwhile, we are going to go over to Surrender for Team Asia Pacific on this again. This freeze opening comp with the Tavish, Jaina, Varden.
Yep. We have seen some weaknesses with this comp, but overall, it has seemed quite solid.
Yeah, I did like when we saw Surrender open with that Cairn opening. Cairn, I think it was yesterday he played that. I think that was pretty good, but I think the main thing about this comp is it's either got really strong matchups or really weak matchups. And again, what Surrender has to think about now is, you saw how one-sided this played out earlier today. He has to be aware that this Nature Samuro opening is very, very strong and can pop Jaina. So does he like want to open up Ken, Diablo, or maybe something even a little bit different instead? I don't know what that would be, but we are going to see him go for that Jaina, Varden, and Tavish instead. The more sort of go-to standard opener.
Yep. Has a little bit more resilience than what like a standard caster comp would be against a Samuro opening.
Yeah, it's mainly down to the ice block, down to the freeze and AoE damage from Varden, and then just how durable Tavish is, right? 93 health with that wiring, and being green means that he's only really taking a lot of damage from the Malfurion.
Samuro is double green. He's a green type, and he's actually green.
Yeah, he's the most green of the green characters.
Yeah, whereas Malfurion is a little bit more confusing, because Malfurion is also green.
His hair
primarily.
Is green.
Yeah, but his hair covers
his
his entire body.
Pinky purple.
Yeah, but his hair covers like 80% of his body.
80, is that accurate? Have you done the maths on that?
Well, no.
I'm just asking the question, TJ. How you spend your time is up to you.
I'm looking at an array of pictures of Malfurion, and this portrait of him, he looks way more green than in actuality, where he has very little green. His beard goes down to kind of his belly button. And it's quite lush, to be fair, but if there's not that much green, you're right. It's more purple-pink kind of vibe going on here.
Yeah. The general night elf color scheme.
Yeah, you can continue.
I don't even know what I was talking about at this point.
Okay, good.
Jaina, the ice block pop on Jaina though is very, very strong, right? This is the perfect way to proc that ice block that you can take a look at right now. Being able to, Jaina still gets to act. I know a lot of people were a little bit confused at the way that now reincarnation from Ken means he doesn't get to act. But the big difference here is Jaina doesn't die, right? Like the character doesn't actually die, doesn't go to 0 health. So Jaina does get to act through that ice block, but it does mean now with these speed increases and stuff that is extremely likely that Jaina gets killed before she can really do anything, which means that the Jaina's done the minimal amount possible for Luna here, right? Like letting Jaina basically attack once in this game is about as good as you're ever going to get.
Yep. Muddy Pudding going to take out Jaina immediately.
Yeah, and Luna going for a bit of a diversion there. Used the Malfurion AoE heal, right? Which is a little bit interesting. Just buffing up that Samuro. And obviously the Malfurion as well, but just getting that extra heals there. This Samuro is very healthy as a 2084 right now. And that might only get bigger.
Yeah, it's kind of like a reset, right? At least that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Luna able to take out a Mercenary on the other side of the board and have things be generally healthy going into the next phase.
This is really good though, right? I think Luna's got a good go at this one, because what the plan is, I believe, from Luna is only let Surrender swap in one Mercenary at a time. So Luna will be slowed until the end of time at this point by this Varden, but I think the plan is she will leave Varden and Tavish alive because they have relatively low damage output, and just focus down Cairn now. And then focus down Diablo, then focus down Rag, then deal with Varden and the Tavish. As an example, if you can afford to deal with being slowed, Varden's death rattle means nothing if Varden's the last mercenary you kill to win, right? Who cares if you're frozen? You've won. So I do think this is a very good strategy, and I think that's where the AoE heal came from as well, in that if Luna heals, then it keeps these minions like unlikely to die, on top of the fact that now look at this board. Cairn, Varden, and Tavish. These are some very low damage output mercenaries.
A lot of utility.
Yeah.
Well, you need a big beefer. Can't just have all utility.
Yeah, so this is going to be not talking about double damage, of course, but 10 damage from the Stomp. Was it 5 more from the AoE from Varden, and then this. Okay, so Surrender's actually switching off Explosive, assuming that Cairn is going to be the target here. Surrender's going to get that aim shot extra damage going in for a little bit more there, because again, I think it's a very fair assumption that Cairn will be the sole focus of Luna's attention right now. Good heads-up play there. Again, the explosive traps are nice. He is running the wiring on this version of Tavish, so it would stick around. But if Tavish isn't targeted until the very end of the game, it might not matter that explosive trap's there, right? Or like Luna gets to choose when to activate that explosive, whereas just getting that extra damage for aim shotting because he knew it wouldn't be targeted is a pretty good play to deal with the problems right now, because the longer Malfurion stays alive, the longer this sort of sustained style from Luna and this focus in one single target minion is going to work out well, because I talk a lot about this Samuro, for example, just being still alive. 29 attack now is huge, but this Brakan is still on 86, and these Chain Lightnings are just going to start getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
And time definitely seems to be on Luna's side at the moment. Already a Merc up, low damage, Mercenaries on the other side. Not too big of a threat for Brukan. It's not even the focus at the moment, even if it could be, right? So.
Yeah, this is very tricky indeed for Surrender, and this is one of the problems, and what was one of the big meta changes as well, is that Varden, Tavish X was, oh, that's a big deal, going first there was huge. Varden, Tavish X was so popular that as soon as these nature comps started coming out, it got to the point where players were like, oh wait, yeah, I can't kill anything fast enough against this nature comp because of the naturally like low damage output. But that was a really big turn there for Surrender, getting some moments to fight back there. And most importantly, this Cairn hasn't died yet, but it does mean Luna gets something that you do look for often, which is instead of these single mercenary swapping from the bench, you a lot of the times would rather have 2 minions swapping, and Luna's got that now with the Cairn Diablo combo. So it's likely now that Diablo goes down, Cairn goes down for Surrender before he can get into Diablo of his own, and Diablo coming in just early enough for Luna means that this health stacking is going to start adding up now as well.
Mm-hmm. So what's the choice then with Cairn here? If you know that it's going to be dying this turn.
I guess the choice is probably you work out whether you want to go to go for Endurance Aura to try and help out here in any way, and just because it might be the only ability you actually get off at this point.
Yeah.
I think he gets Stomp Off every time though, if these numbers look correct. If this Brakan is slowed, I think the Cairn always gets to stomp here.
Yeah.
So it's probably worthwhile, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, here's the Chain Lightning. This is
big.
Tricky though, isn't it? These games are pretty close because now on one hand you look, well, Brakan's frozen for a turn. That's a problem for Luna. Just has to pass the turn with Brakan. It's likely to die before it can do anything reasonable now. But although very slow, Surrender's lineup, like the Rag, plus anything either of the two of his other mercenaries do, will just dumpster this Diablo with Meteor, as is often the case. But after that, Luna still has Cookie left, right? Pretty sure it's Cookie. Luna still has Cookie, and then you've got to work out whether Surrender's comp overall beats this, because it's not like Luna gets to pass the whole turn, right? Diablo and Cairn are going to do something, but this is pretty weak overall. This is such a strange outcome. I'm struggling to work out who I think is favored here, but a large chunk of me wants to say Surrender just because Meteor exists.
He's going to be able to nuke this Diablo. And obviously an incredibly weak turn for Luna overall. So, oh, there it is. Oh, it's big.
Yep, there's the Meteor. That's just so much damage. Doesn't get to kill the Cairn for the reincarnate, of course, but still, right, it's still looking pretty good. Ken, Cookie, not exactly the two hard carries of the team for solo, and that's going to be the concede from Luna. Look at Surrender, so happy with that victory, because it means, you know, there's a chance that APAC can take this second win. And you've got to bear in mind as well, it's not as simple or as straightforward as, well, if Americas win, they gain a point. If APAC win, they gain a point. If APAC win, they stop America's gaining a point, right? And I know that sounds very weird to say, but when it is this close so far, and you can effectively deny teams points as well as you gaining them, you sort of double increase the gap that's available, because there are limited amounts, right? There's only so many points these players can gain based on the matches and the schedule. So it is one of those big things where the fact that Americas is currently bottom at this second in time, APAC just has gained a point already, so they're 1 point ahead. If APAC win again, if Surrender or Gia can take this next game, then Americas stay at the bottom and APAC takes a further step ahead. So suddenly, if APAC go 2 points up now, and Americas say win their battlegrounds, well, APAC is still ahead of Americas, right, at that point. Yeah. And then it would come down to how Constructed falls out. And that's just within those two regions. So this win is actually could be a lot bigger than it may look for either of these teams if we're making the assumption that the Americas Battlegrounds team will win.
Yeah, which I feel like is a pretty safe assumption to make, given what's happened over the past 2 days. Americas just seems to be firing on all cylinders when it comes to those Battlegrounds matches.
Yeah, and funnily enough, it looks like we are going to end this on, I guess...
Mirror.
Yeah.
It's a true mirror, I think.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? So this is going to be a tough one. And again, I know a lot of people like to talk about coin flips, and obviously they are a little bit more rampant in mirror matches. But if that's the case, then it's important to keep an eye out for the turns that aren't mirrored, right? Because I'm pretty sure we're not going to see the exact same ability choice every turn for every character. And the second that isn't the case, where we see one player do something different, that's where you start seeing the differences in how the game plays out. Excuse me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now I won't be able to tell whose perspective it is. Are we going to see exact same openings, exact same...
Yeah, I think
Brukan's the only Merc that even has an option.
Yes, like I said, even though I'm talking about that every turn is likely to not be identical, the opening will, of course, almost certainly be the same. And weirdly enough, let's just see how this ends before I open my mouth and make myself look stupid. But the timings on these openings in nature mirrors do get a little bit funky, because if you go first, you kind of miss out on heals, right? Like you can see now, because Gia went first, the Malfurion for Luna is actually higher health, which sounds weird, but you can't heal past your max. So the Brukan went first, no heal, because it's the first play of the game, so no 6 healing from Malfurion. And then obviously everything else happened, but because of that, Gia is like a slight step behind. So we'll see how much that may or may not impact, because obviously now this mirrored lineups and this turn as well probably has a lot of coin flips too. But just the fact that that's a big difference, right? 19 health on Malfurion versus 31, even the 76 health on Blademaster Samuro versus 70. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you go from not having a maxed Mercenary to having one, which is a +1/+5 stat increase, oh boy, do you notice it.
Yeah, it becomes pretty big. Ooh, getting to highlight the Light Brute Staff from Malfurion. Seems to be the only choice that we've seen thus far. I think it's every single Malfurion in every single player's lineup is there.
It's just good. The fact it's AoE healing as well is just extremely, extremely strong. If it was made any worse, you could maybe look at some of the other options, but it's just so consistently strong. And also, as people have found out now with Mukla, Cookie, for example, a few other characters, it's not like nature's limited to Malfurion, and Guff, Brukan, right? There's a lot of characters with nature abilities, even if not every ability is nature. So, we'll see, especially in the future, how that pans out, because if they keep adding more characters with nature effects, it will only naturally get stronger because there are just more options, right?
Yeah.
Here, though, we do see the Malfurions go away for both players. Cairn coming out to play, but again, all eyes do fall on when this Brukan on either side is going to be dealt with, because although we've been seeing a lot of muddy footing here, once lightning bolts start coming out, or even just flat chain lightnings, that could be a big deal in this more grindy style matchup. If lightning bolts start being played here to try and just stack up some spell damage, this could be huge. The only thing these players have to work around is, if you're going to try and stack lightning bolts to buff that chain lightning, you have to make sure your Brukan doesn't die. And when there's like 20 or 27 attack Samuros on the board, your Brukan can die if you're not careful.
Yeah, you can't get too greedy with it, or else you may never go for it. And then there's also kind of the situation like calling your opponent's bluff, right, with the Samuro and the mirror images, to try and absorb some chain lightning if you think that's what's going to come out from Brukan the very next turn. Money footing again.
Yeah, you're going to try and stop the Cairn, right?
Yep.
So Stomp from Gia will stop the Cairn. And we see that. There you go, right? Straight away. We've seen that difference. Gia gone for the kill on the Cairn. Luna gone for the kill on the Brukan. So if we want to just accelerate our brains to the highest possible level, one of these players surely has to be wrong, right?
Yeah.
And this is where it gets interesting, and why the game mode is less than solved, because people still can't decide on what these plays are, even in a mirror match, where you could argue it's easier to work out because you are very likely to understand what your opponent wants to do. But a big diversion here from the general strategy. Gia going with the more overall plan you want to do in a lot of matchups with Cairn and Diablo, which is let Cairn filter in second, kill Cairn, let Diablo filter in afterwards to stop that combo or synergy being available. Luna deciding no, she wants to actually just take away Brukan, remove that big burst damage, and also just maybe defend the Cairn a little bit, but most importantly have access to a second chain lightning, because a lot of the time with Brukan, because of the 2-turn cooldown, and Brukan often start in the game, so that's turn 3 until chain lightning can happen, you don't often see 2 chain lightnings come out to play in any one given game. It is normally dead between that point.
Gia opting for Cookie over the Diablo in this scenario to be replaced with Cairn full health on board. What do you think of this?
Yeah, not something I expected, but I think one of the problems is Diablo could just get absolutely smacked by the Samuro on Luna's side, right? If Samuro just goes into Diablo hard, as well as, some additionals, then the Diablo, there's a chance, I think, I'm just going to quickly guess the numbers, but there's a chance that Diablo could just die that turn, which is very scary indeed. So I think Gia's just gone for the Cookie plan to try and soften up some of these targets so that Diablo, when and if he can come out at a reasonable time, can actually do the big turn. Right now, suddenly the Cairn's gone. Luna's going to drop a new minion on the board, whether that's Cookie or Diablo. But now Gia has the opportunity to play a Diablo turn of her own, while Samuro's at slightly lower health, the Brukan's slightly lower as well. So I don't know, it's tough. It's a really tricky one, and the second these paths sort of diverge, like we saw earlier on, the game gets so much harder to play because you aren't playing a mirrored opponent at this point.
Yeah. And Luna going with kind of a similar strategy, except just a different board state, right? The Karen combo is not up, but gonna play Cookie over Diablo,
Right.
because Diablo may not have like that big of effect on this board state.
Yeah, Diablo weirdly can be a decent finisher, but again, because Luna is in no particular shape to set anything strong up, I think a lot of this is maybe get the bleed down and maybe try and snipe a minion with Cookie to give some extra health on Brukan and Samuro, although that's quite difficult based on the health numbers for Gia's Mercenaries at the moment. And maybe a fish is worthwhile, and Luna might think the trade-off for the fish death rattle, sorry, I'll try and speak, is worth the Gia's Diablo getting more health, because Luna has still one additional mercenary on the bench.
Yeah. Still deciding. Looks like just on Cookie's ability there.
It makes sense for Gia to go for the fish, definitely, again, just helping with that Diablo and just getting the buffs anyway from the AoE. Like, that combo just works on so many levels. And now it's just going to be the Diablo here for Luna, but things are starting to slip away. Brukan, very weak. Cookie, very weak again. Ken, on Gia's side, still got Reincarnate, so although Ken might not get anything done this turn, does it matter? Like, this Diablo is huge.
Way bigger than Luna's Diablo, that's for sure.
And the problem is, in these sort of end states of Diablos coming out fairly late, the fact that Gia's on 114 health, if Luna plays hers, well, she will, literally has to, because Luna's got the weaker two minions, although it doesn't really matter, because the boards are fairly even, I should probably say, the two Diablos will gain health from Soulstone at an equal rate. So Gia's is just bigger, right? You know, like, that's never really going to change because they're both on board now. Gia's is bigger right now, and then Luna's will stay at that sort of relative distance in health compared to her opponents.
And for Gia, it's just a matter of kind of cleaning up, right? Obviously, a pretty big advantage, but just needs to drive it home. Make sure that the maths are on point here.
Is that for my benefit, TJ?
Yep.
Thanks. Yeah, I think
like
importantly
I
here...
only cast with people from the UK now, so it's just part of my vocabulary.
One of us. One of us.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately.
Wow. How's America's doing in this tournament, TJ?
One of you. How's America's doing in every tournament ever?
Yeah, I think the important thing here for Gia is to just kill Brukan. That's one of the big damage dealers. Then probably just, maybe this happens naturally, but delete Cookie as well. And just have Diablo as the focus.
Yeah.
Well, Brukan didn't die, and that is something I will say, actually, that I did not bring up when we were talking about health totals. It's actually a really big deal. The Cookie actually got the snipe, right? Which then gave Luna's Diablo the plus health, which then alters the numbers yet again. Now it's looking a little bit worse. And the worst part as well is, although it's slowed, Cookie still gets to get something done here. Even if Gia's can get some damage done, or some effect done this turn, as long as Cookie can do something, that's another snipe on the Cairn too. This game is very close.
Something.
But there was a stomp last turn for Gia. Like, Gia was going for the setup turn, right? Oh wait, there wasn't a... Stomp. It was Doom. Was it Doom Charge last turn? It's very difficult to remember what each player's locking in every single turn. Normally I only have to focus on what I'm doing. Okay, yeah. So it's going to be a Diablo Mirror and a 1 health difference. Now,
but 5 attack difference.
Yes, and also, this isn't straightforward, right? You can mess this up. Trust me, I know because I've done it. You would think that, oh, well, 2 minions are left. They just punch each other until someone wins. But because of how Doom Charge works, there's a potential. Maybe not with Gia because Gia has the extra attack. So this changes a few things. But basically, the things to look out for. The third ability that's locked in for Gia right now just consistently deals good damage. And you don't receive additional damage because you're not doing a melee attack. So that's step 1. Step 2 is the stomp. Obviously, whoever goes first gets to do 2 waves of stomps, which is what you're looking for. That's maximum stomp damage. Third is that you can alter who goes first based on if you want to Doom Charge or not. And then that changes on when you go there. So this, although it's just 1 Merc versus 1 and it's the same Mercenary, things do change just a little bit. It's very difficult to work out, and I think both players, there's so much on the line here. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I promise it is. 1 whole point is on the line for this Diablo Mirror. So both players will have to think ahead turn by turn, because the second you slip up in this, you will just lose.
A whole point?
Yeah, 1 whole point.
Oh my goodness. Insane. There you go. This is getting very awkward, actually.
Yeah, normally...
It's just deep into just
yeah, it's
a literal head scratch.
It is weird because I've played this a couple of times, but not enough times to really feel hyper confident on it. But the problem with Doom Charge, although you mess with your opponent's speed potentially, you deal damage, but you also get dealt an additional 12 or 17 in this case, depending on who does it. So I think both players are just opting to just avoid any extra additional damage on purpose here, just to say the numbers won't change. We are just going to play this out. And obviously, this is now the way they're choosing to play means that it is just coming down to all these coin flips, because if the stomp happens first, you deal twice as much damage than if the stomp happens second, like we just saw there for Gia. I think she stomped second, which means that she only dealt that 1 wave of 6 instead of 12, which is why the health numbers have flipped once again. It is really tricky though, because it's hard to turn down a Doom Charge. Because you see then, that stomp could have done 6 or 12. Doom Charge deals 17 100% of the time, but it deals 12 to you, right? So it's very tricky to work out what that payoff is, because dealing 6 sounds ridiculously bad, right? And now we just have the good old coin flip for the end. And the winner is... You can see the prey from G. It's really funny as well that this could have gone wrong, where if Luna had the third ability, it would deal 24 and just not be a problem. But because she doesn't, if this stomp doesn't go first, it doesn't deal 12, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, it literally has just come down to this one moment for all of the marbles. This would cement APAC a great amount of points coming from Mercenaries at the start of today, and would further put Americas in danger that even their Battleground squad might not be able to dig them out of.
They're both just waiting the maximum amount of time too. Hey!
Oh, and Luna gets it. There you go. I know there's been a few tweets from Luna regarding losing apparently every coin flip that ever exists, and I understand the frustration, but I think no complaining can be done now, because that one flip was the one that gained America's 1 whole point towards this. So it was a bit of a silly way for that series to end, of course, with just a Diablo face-off, both players having the same equipment as well, so that didn't change anything. I would love to rewind a little bit and try and work out whether Doom Charge was ever worthwhile. It probably wasn't, but the fact that there was a 17 attack on one side and not the other would be cool to try and just do the numbers there. But again, that 12 damage coming back the other way basically buffs your opponent's damage, right? It just means you might be able to get Fire Stomp more often. So it was a very silly way to end the series, but most importantly, we focus on the outcome, of course. Luna won the game, so that means the Americas win the series and get 1 point banked for that grand total there. So a big victory for Americas there.
Yeah, and honestly, in the grand scheme of things, is going to be incredibly important as we move forward. A little bit of pressure is off the shoulders of the remainder of the Americas squad to have to perform. But to be honest, most of that pressure is still there because there's still an absolute need for them to keep performing.
It was definitely more if APAC won, then Americas would be in huge trouble, I think. Whereas the Americas winning just means they've got a chance, right? There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Whereas if APAC won there, then they just stride really far ahead and also just keep Americas low with a 0 point game from Mercenaries. But it was just a 1-1 result overall there. So still, I do think overall Team APAC should be really proud of what they've achieved so far in Mercenaries and should be happy with the overall outcome of how they've done so far. I think they've definitely displayed not only good lineup building, but also just solid understanding of the matchup with, a couple of slips here and there, but I think it's fair to say every single team we have seen has had a couple of slip-ups.
Yeah. It's hard not to at this stage in a tournament where you're playing for so long, right? Broadcast over the first 2 days were 14 to 16 hours of waiting around. I mean, I feel for the Mercenaries players today and the casters that are casting Mercenaries, whoever those poor souls may be, that we start with Mercenaries and end with Mercenaries, so there's this big break. But I don't think there's any crossover, right? Because the last Mercenaries is China versus Europe.
Correct. Yeah.
So it really is just us that are the poor souls.
So to sum up,
dude that started
feels bad.
Yeah. Rip us. All right. But that is going to do it for the first Mercenaries coverage of the day. I did allude to us ending the broadcast on day 3 here with Mercenaries, which will be China versus Europe. That's going to end the show. Could be a lot riding on that, depending on how Battlegrounds and Constructed go for the rest of the day. But we are going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to head over to Constructed, which I'm here for. Oh, Raven, am I here for Constructed now that we're done with Mercenaries. So, again, we're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back, right here from the Hearthstone Global Invitational. Don't go anywhere.